also a little bit upset with some of our AIDS organizations that are not really helping the ball community to empower themselves. And I mean, we can have a discussion about just that. And so I'm blaming our own leadership that we are not really, our intention is not really to help us to empower ourselves, because AIDS is now a big business. And when you look at the board of directors, these are all corporate people. You don't see any community people like myself. We've been getting pushed out of from board of directors because we don't provide the resources, financial resources. We don't have access to that, and therefore we become almost irrelevant. And that's really, as a gay activist, I find that really, you know, it's a sad story.
I also believe the protease inhibitors have kicked in a new level of denial, because although the disease is very much more manageable and you can live with the disease, I think people think it's not that big of a deal, but the side effects and medications are very difficult, and people are still dying day to day, so I think that's definitely an added obstacle that's come up.
And just to speak to that point, I mean, certainly with the medication available right now, is that being able to live with the virus is obviously something that can be done. But as was said in the short film with GMHC, it's moved. It's the poor now. And the poor do not have access to those medications, generally speaking, and in fact get much more persecution because of it. Anything from getting kicked out of housing. I mean, obviously, our immigration laws, which are supposedly getting changed. So they're supposed to make it easier. There's an immigration law that bans people from HIV. They're supposed to make it. They're supposed to fast track it now. Is the latest news, which is ridiculous. But it's a virus is a living thing. A pandemic is a living thing, and it's going to find the places where it can most easily grow and where we will not pay attention to it. There'll always be people, as Roger said in the film, that are allowed to suffer and die. And just because it's moved to the poor, there's no reason that we can't continue this, and that we need to work harder.
I mean, how did you guys feel about watching these things? What kind of emotion did you have? Yeah, you wanted to say something, the gentleman over there. Yeah.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
One thing that I was interested in, especially in your film, was how did you get access to that kind of group? Like, what was your
well, that obviously because of Jenny Livingston's Paris is Burning, which was a very exploitive film,
yeah.
And it is also very unfortunate that the American propaganda machine is putting that on logo and on all these networks, so the society can say, see, this is what this community is all about. Unfortunately, the creativity kind of got lost in the exploitation of Paris is Burning, and we are now trying to put that film in perspective, because the younger generation does not need to see Paris is Burning and be exposed to that side of the community, which you also find on Wall Street and everywhere else. So it's very unfortunate about this film. The way I got access is because I used to be a club promoter in New York City, and Mike Stone, who was the oldest gay black promoter, was at that point in the late 80s running from club to club because he had no access to clubs like I had. I was at Limelight, so the gay games happened in 1990, and I created a promoters league of gay promoters to raise funds for the gay games in Vancouver. Mike Stone, James Saunders were part of that group, and then basically we became friends, and I helped him find clubs. So then Kevin Omney, who crossed over from the clubs into the ball community, I met him through that coalition that I founded. And so I came in from the top old school, the legends and the Hall of Famers. That's how I was introduced to the community, and I had to really talk to each one of them. And once you meet me and you see my intentions, and they look you in the eye, and if that doesn't work, then you're done with them. So, but I have a long record with the community, and therefore I was able to even get close to that, especially after Paris is Burning. They wouldn't even give a black guy access to the community, a photographer, unless you had some kind of green light, or you had to prove yourself. And I was able to do that because of my activism and my intentions, and nobody signed a release form after the film was done, so anybody who didn't like it had the opportunity to not sign the release. There was screenings on a regular basis for their input. I created a empowerment community project because of Paris is Burning, because they needed to see another side of the business where they don't have to feel exploited, and where they could participate in making a film they could be proud of.
Right.
And now I'm experiencing that like the corporations are not really interested in my film because it's a positive. See, I feel they'd rather show Paris is Burning so they can keep the finger on this community rather than show something that's empowering, and that again just shows you something about this country.
Yeah, I was going to say, because there's a definite positive experience when you watch this short film as opposed to in Paris.
Right.
It kind of leaves you in this very negative place.
Yeah, that's what our AIDS images are. It leaves you depressed and down,
right,
and crying and tears. So because I've lived through the epidemics, two of my lovers passed away of AIDS. I'm still negative. But it's really was really important for me not to do another depressing film. Yeah, we needed to address the issues of 400 people died, basically his friends. Not only did you lose all your friends, you lose a lot of clients. Some of that reality needed to be in there, but at the same time, I wanted to send some hope images and also something positive. I'd rather look at it at World AIDS Day as a celebration rather than another depressing day of our community.
Thank you very much for sharing this community with me. I didn't know about it, and I don't know if I would ever have known about it, so thank you very much.
You're very welcome. We sell DVDs. We take donations. I mean, right now, this community is one of the most creative communities on the planet. They're inspired from Madonna to Grace Jones to India, Terry Mugler. I mean, the list goes on and on. This is such a trend-setting community. And right now, because of the AIDS organizations in New York City, they're in the artistic ghetto. They'd rather keep them there so they can get continuously grants, so they can say, oh, they need to be educated, oh, blah, 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 blah. The Ball community is the most educated community about HIV and AIDS. We have 5 AIDS organizations targeting 500 people in this city. It's pathetic. They spend millions of dollars educating 500 people. And there's a lot of waste of money going on in this direction. And these children who are so influential in the arts, fashion, dance, that they are still in the artistic ghetto is really hitting a nerve, and that's what kind of pushes me as an activist to address these issues.
Do you know if, say, Medicare or children's health, free health insurance covers treatment for AIDS?
I'm not involved on that level, only artistically, so I couldn't really address this issue. I don't know.
Hi guys, thank you all very much for sharing your film with us. My question has to do with the community that you're speaking to. I know with the Ball community, it's aware that AIDS is a major issue and it's devastated that community. With your film, Henry, long-term survivors, they can definitely connect to this film. And the clients of GMHC and people who work at GMHC live with this issue on a day-to-day basis. My question is how, if under the age of 25, 50% of new infections will be, within the next coming years, how do you reach out to them? with the issues? You know what I mean? Because your films sort of speak to a specific community. How do you then spread the message to a younger generation, or to women, or to people who aren't necessarily in an urban environment?
I could give you an example of an action I took a couple weeks ago. I was asked to do a HIV prevention talk to dance majors at SUNY Purchase. And all the dance majors were aged 17 to 22. So we did the whole safer sex talk, and then I talked a little bit about my life and my story. And it really empowered them to see someone living with the virus and talking about it and answering any questions they might have. So that was a way that I outreach to a younger population, because 17 to 21 is the largest growing infection rate. So.
I think part of what the GMHC film was about was not just to look back at survivors and heroes from the 80s on, but also to remind everyone. I mean, that's really why that heading, the Crisis Part 2, is to remind people, not just sort of the preaching to the choir, and I'm with you on that, because it's great, we can preach to each other from now until the end of time, they won't do a damn thing. We have to actually be able to get this message out. And part of the task that I was sort of assigned to with GMHC was to remind people to continue the fight. And I know that what they've used it for since then is as part of their presentation, to get people to galvanize, to try and galvanize people to understand that this is not done. This is by no means done. And the groups that need to be reached, I think there's a lot. I mean, I think you should check out Lifebeat is a great organization you should check out that does a lot and uses pop stars and stuff like that. You should check them out. If you don't know about Lifebeat, they really target a younger crowd. And so, give to them. They're a great group of people. And to as much as we can to use these to push the powers that be, be it the money or the people that have become a little bit more apathetic, to try and reach those groups that aren't being reached.
With How Do I Look, it is now in festivals worldwide, so we're reaching a lot of audience there. And I'm also very happy to say that we were in the Amsterdam Film Festival, which was a straight festival, and How Do I Look provided the LGBT content. And tonight we are at the 15th African Diaspora Film Festival in Harlem. And again, this is a straight festival, and they use How Do I Look to provide the LGBT content in the straight festival. So I'm very pleased that we are not just talking amongst ourselves, that we actually have been successful in breaking into the straight market. In addition, we had many screenings with lectures at Yale University, here at NYU, and the colleges. We've been to the YES program, which is the LGBT program at the center. We had a screening at The Door, which is the largest youth organization in the country, at Tedrick Martin Institute, and Safe Space. So we've been very successful in reaching the target audience, and we're getting a lot of wonderful feedback.
That being said, I think, congratulations, by the way, to all of those, and that's a great thing. I think the pressure needs to also be brought to bear. It's not just about us within this room. I mean, listen, we care. We're here on a Saturday morning, and we care. So the situation in this room feels pretty good. But I think the pressure needs to be brought to bear at the highest levels of government, at all of the organizations, not just quote-unquote AIDS organizations, but the CDC, any organization that can get the information out. As I said before, if we're living in a country where for the past 8 years we're talking about abstinence as some sort of sexual education for children, you're just lighting a fire. We're lighting a fire not just with HIV, but across so many different possibilities and platforms. And of course, you also look at the percentages among African Americans and Latinos and how that population is growing and how they're ignored. And so it's the talking amongst ourselves, yeah, it helps, but I think we should talk amongst ourselves to galvanize, to go after these people at the highest reaches of government, and to remind them that you cannot just let people die. I mean, that there's no such thing as a disposable population. And this government believes that, and has believed it. I mean, I think we all know Reagan certainly believed it, and Bush appears to believe it as well. You know, and I think we have to take it further. This is great, but it can't end here.
I was just going to mention that I read a statistic that the administration is proposing that 1/3 of their budget in terms of dealing with kind of global AIDS will be directed only for abstinence, which is a huge proportion of their budget. So.
And if you read recently, I can't remember. I'm sorry that I don't have the number at the top of my head, but Bush was touting the amount of money that he's pushing towards Africa. And listen, okay, great, let's get a lot of money towards Africa, but a lot of that is hooked into this abstinence. Certainly, the religious right hijacking of this, which is it's ridiculous. I mean, there's so many other things that need to be done, and abstinence does nothing. The studies show it does absolutely no good, and in fact does great harm. So what you're talking about, it's all wonderful and well to tout the money that's being put there, but if 1/3 of it is going down into some sort of ideological well of ridiculousness, then who cares? It doesn't do anything.
I just would like to inspire everybody in the room to create programs and try to reach people, and like for example, how do I look? What my concept is to use the arts to reach the audience. And if everybody can just come up with some kind of idea using the arts or what it is to reach people, I would really encourage you all to do so.
I also encourage everyone not to forget about it and not to stop talking about it.
Yeah, I think that I love the idea of the arts, and just to see both your films was just amazing. And it's not just the arts. Any voice you have, if you don't feel like you can make an artistic statement, make a political statement. Write a letter. I don't care. You know, nobody cares what your voice, actually how it comes out. Just make sure it comes out, and it comes out as loud as is humanly possible.